guys. After almost 5 long years of searching for the proper one, affordable price and everything, I finally found the James Hetfield signature Grynch Baritone. These were made all the way back in 2003 and there are 300 of them. I will explain why not 260. And this is number 79 out of 300. It is an LTD baritone, meaning it has a longer scale length, and it was meant to be played for the Saint Anger album and lower tunings in general. I want to show you the difference between a baritone guitar and a standard scale one, and I have a couple more ESPs laying around here. I'm gonna tell you more about this baritone later on, but this is the standard scale ESP Viper. Look at it next to the Grynch baritone. 24.75 inch scale length versus 27 baritone. You can clearly see the difference in length with the standard scale ESP Viper that I'm gonna review later on. Back to the Grynch. A lot of people claim that this is basically an ESP with an LTD logo, and I'm gonna put that to the test. I have the ESP baritone here. I'm gonna compare the quality of the two guitars. My first impressions are pretty optimistic. The ESP Viper feels pretty similar in quality to the LTD Grynch. I can tell you it ain't ESP though. It wasn't made in Japan, it was made in Korea. Even though it feels really high quality, it feels great, it cannot be ESP, it's not made in Japan. The good news is that it doesn't have to be an ESP. James's guitar is not an ESP, it's modified LTD baritone. But more on that later on. Let's see what we have here. Mahogany body, maple neck, rosewood fingerboard, 24 extra jumbo frets. My favorite Spurzer locking tuners in black, and we have GoPro locking bridge in tailpiece. One of the specs that really got me intrigued, this is the usual 6081 EMG set, but it has an EMG afterburner in this pot. I'm eager to try it out and see if the 20 decibel boost is substantial enough to go from crunch to high gain. I am genuinely excited to try out the Grynch. I've been looking for one for so long now. I'm gonna put it on the workbench, take care of it, and then I'm gonna try to give you guys some heavy Saint Anger riffs. Of course, I'm gonna be replacing those cracked pickup rings, the rusty screws. I'm gonna clean up the rust from the bridge that you see here. I'm gonna take care of this baby, it's gonna shine when I'm done with it. I am a bit puzzled about this 25th anniversary card. ESP was founded back in 1975, so the anniversary should be 2000, and this is a 2003 run. Let me know in the comment section what you think, guys. And this is the certificate of authenticity, LTD Grynch number 079. This document certifies that the limited edition James Hetfield Grynch signature guitar is manufactured to the artist's specification by the ESP Guitar Company back in April 2003. Do you guys want some beauty shots and hear the story behind this amazing guitar? Yay! Of course, we can't discuss the Grynch without talking about everybody's favorite Metallica album, Saint Anger. Well, at least one of my favorites. I'm not even joking, there's some insanely heavy riffs in that album, like Frantic, Saint Anger and Invisible Kid. Saint Anger and Frantic are in drop C tuning and Invisible Kid is in all the way down to drop G sharp. And what do you do when you have to tune so low and you don't want a 7 or 8 string guitar? You get yourself a baritone. It was time for a new signature guitar. The previous signature model that James had released with ESP was the JH3 Eclipse. So he had already done the V-Shape, the Explorer and the Les Paul with the JH1, 2 and 3. James has tried a couple of super strats, including a 7-string guitar in his pursuit for lower tunings. We can see him using the 7-string on a couple of live performances and in the studio. My guess is that he quickly found out that 7-string guitars and especially super strats are not his thing. Probably somewhere around the time the idea for the Grynch baritone was conceived in James's head. Why is it an LTD then, not an ESP? Well, there's an answer to that too, because you see, the Grynch started out as an LTD. You see, the prototype for the Grynch was James's original guitar, which was an LTD Viper Baritone 300. It's funny because in the catalog you see James's VB300 with the thinner LTD logo and not the mass-produced Grynch guitar. Speaking of the 2003 ESP catalog, the Viper shape seemed to be a recurring theme back then. The shape was even on the main pages of the catalog. A couple more artists had the cheaper standard scale version, the VB300 with the newer logo, and Max Calavera even had a custom shop version of the standard scale. So why didn't James get the ESP version? Well, the answer is simple, it was a baritone. Try selling a baritone that expensive back in 2003. And of course, James being James, he didn't simply want a plain baritone, he wanted to do something cool with it. I can imagine him saying, well, we got this black guitar, why don't we apply some green flames to it, man, like on my cars? Oh yeah! James contacted Kirk Taylor of Custom Design Studios. He wanted the green flame graphics on the Grynch to resemble the ones on the air intake of his Lincoln Dead Kennedy car. James probably had one of his guitar techs strip down a stock VB300 baritone and send it over to Kirk Taylor, who I am assuming airbrushed the flames on James's guitar. This is a rare photo of the end result, and I want to thank everybody at the Guitars of James Hetfield Facebook group for this picture. But how would LTD airbrush 300 guitars without making them super expensive? It's simple, they didn't. They printed out the design to stickers and applied them to the guitars with some clear coat on top of them. They've made around 300 of them. Initially they were supposed to make only 260, but it's believed some of those guitars were lost and they were replaced with newer numbers. 275 is the highest I've seen. Before I move on to the video, I'm gonna do a couple of things. I'm gonna polish the entire guitar, I'm gonna polish the frets, I'm gonna oil this fingerboard, and I'm gonna be replacing the pickup rings, because you see, this is what happens when you over tighten the screws that are holding them in place. Some of the screws and bolts are rusted out, so I'm gonna be replacing those, like for example this one. I spent 5 minutes looking for the fourth of those screws just to show you how rusted out it is, and it was underneath the damn pickup. This particular screw is very rusty and it was in the base of the bridge pickup. This is not a problem because I'm gonna clean this up, I'm gonna replace the screws, and I'm also gonna clean up the bridge real nice, because you can see there is some rust here on the intonation bolts, and there is also some rust on the locking bolts that secure the bridge to the struts. I'm gonna take them out and clean them. I also found some white residue under the pickups. Unfortunately, it didn't turn out to be coke stash, but it's okay. Probably part of a buffing compound or polishing compound that dried out and left in the cavities. I'm gonna clean it up and show you. I've already took care of the rust on the bridge screws, and the locking bolts were stuck in place, so I've used some WD-40. I've sprayed some from the back and front until it slowly started rotating, and I did a couple of full rotations so it gets everywhere. The Grynch cleaned up pretty nicely. I've polished the frets, oiled the fingerboard, polished the body. I'm gonna be replacing some parts, but for now let's go over the specs again. First of all, we have the Viper shaped body made out of mahogany, no maple cap. Set neck construction, and the neck is made out of hard maple. 27-inch scale length baritone with a rosewood fingerboard and 24 extra jumbo frets. The dot inlays are made out of abalone and the Grynch inlay is mother of pearl. My favorite Spurzel locking tuners and a molded nut. Then back to the body, we have Goto locking bridge and tailpiece, and the control scheme is master volume, 3-way switch, tone with an afterburner, and the typical for James Hetfield EMG 8160 pickup combination before inventing the headset. Pickups out of the way, let me show you the cavities. The 27-inch scale length neck needs all the support that it can get, so it has a long neck tenon. It's painted in black as the body, and you can see underneath the clear coat there's a small fraction of the sticker used for the flame graphic. What else do we got here? Even back in 2003, EMG were already using the quick connect system for the pickups. I've cleaned some of the buffing compound residue, and you can see here on the corner some of the mahogany wood color and a small fraction of the thin layer of the green flame stickers covered with a clear coat. The routing for the quick connect system, and moving over to the bridge. Same situation, the quick connect system for the bridge pickup, routing for the neck pickup goes over here, and it has been painted black. Essentially that's the body color with some clear coat on top of it. It is after all just a black LTD Viper baritone with some green stickers on it. Let's check out the pickups. I've already removed the original cracked pickup rings and I'm gonna be replacing them with the bare knuckle ones. Those should be the original EMG 8160 set, and indeed we have here EMG 60 made in USA back in 2003 February, 2 months before the guitar. That's the pickup in the neck position. For the bridge we should have the EMG 81, and indeed EMG 81 made in USA a couple of days before the other one, meaning that they were not intended to be a set. They don't need to be a set too. LTD can grab whatever they want from the production line and put it into the Grynch. It will work. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna be replacing the height adjustment screws on the EMG because it turns out their thread is different. You see, the screw on the right is the one that I have. It has finer thread. The EMG is different, so I'm gonna be keeping those. This is why, for example, the headset comes with the adjustment screws already included. Some more weirdness. This is the bare knuckle pickup ring that I was preparing to put on the LTD Grynch. Check out the screw frame that is pressing against the adjustment spring. Now check it out on the original pickup ring. It is lower, meaning that I cannot use the same spring. The bare knuckle bridge frame wouldn't be suitable. The neck position one is okay. The spring is not that much compressed, but if I use this one, I'm gonna compress the spring too much and I don't have a shorter replacement spring and I don't wanna cut it. Luckily I found a mint pickup ring from another guitar of mine. And here they are, the flat slanted pickup rings, quick connect system already connected to the back of the pickup. Here is a better look of the bridge pickup with the quick connect system already in place. Time to install the fresh black screws that I got specially for those rings. I'm also gonna replace the 9V battery just to make sure everything is working properly and it has enough charge. It's like servicing a second-hand car that you just got. Better replace the oil just to be sure. Generally, if it is a second-hand guitar, replace the battery just to be safe. And let's try to get some reading with the multimeter, and yeah, because there's an afterburner in the circuit, we are not getting a proper reading of both pickups, just 51.5. The control scheme is master volume, master tone and an EMG afterburner on the master tone, 3-way switch, but I don't like the way this volume knob rotates, so I'm gonna try and fix it. When I install a knob like this, I make sure that the Allen bolt aligns with this channel over here, so it doesn't deform the shaft. Slide it in, slightly raise it up and tighten. The bridge and tailpiece are GoPro locking, black hardware. The locking bolt on the bridge is working now since I've applied some W40. There's no rust on the intonation screws, as you can see. GoPro made in Japan. I gotta check the intonation because the E string doesn't look right to me. The struts are screwdriver and thumb wheel adjustable. Make sure the bridge is unlocked before you do any adjustments. The tailpiece is also GoPro made in Japan. If you don't believe me, you can read it here. This Baritone neck features white binding and black side dot inlays. I don't see any major fretwork being done on this guitar, so the frets are okay. Abalone dot inlays. And you got the mother of pearl Grynch inlay with some black binding around it. The molded nut is 42mm wide or 1.65 inches. The 12th fret is at 51.5mm or 2.02 inches. Thickness at the first fret is 21mm or 0.82 inch. Thickness at the 12th fret is 22.5mm or 0.88 inch. The fretboard radius is somewhere between 12 and 14 inches, so I'm calling it 12. First and 12th fret neck profile is C-shaped. Feels pretty comfortable to me because I like C-shaped necks. Here is another look at the molded nut, and this one seems to be filed down at some spots, probably to accommodate for thicker gauge strings. I'm gonna give you guys a closer look at the truss rod nut. It's 4mm Allen wrench adjustable. I was hoping that the cavity wasn't painted so we can see some of the maple. Anyway, here is the headstock and the ESP cover for the truss rod cavity. Black satin in the front, white in the back and ESP logo. Held in place by one screw. The headstock features this green flame sticker underneath the clear coat as well. Has the Spurzel locking tuners and LTD logo on top of the sticker. Interesting. Mine seems to have some bubbling going on, which is not a huge deal if you consider that this is a player's grade guitar. The back of the Grynch is even better looking because you get to see the flame graphics uninterrupted by the hardware and pickups. Obviously they have to make way for the electronics, but it's pretty neat in here. I'm gonna remove the 9V battery in a moment to show you that this is not sitting in the air like most guitars. There is a specially routed step underneath the 9V battery. These are your typical solder-on EMG ports. Then you have the 3-way switch. This is the EMG afterburner. It's in the place of the tone pot that James isn't using anyway. And here is the routing for the output jack. The 9V battery is held in place by this metal clip that you've seen on other models, and I'm gonna remove that as well. Now check it out, they actually routed it so it has a little step on which they can mount the 9V battery. The idea is that the cavity is different from the one in the ESP. They didn't want to route another cavity specially made for the 9V battery over here because it would get in the way of the flame graphics. Because check out the ESP, it has a separate tray for the battery. If it was LTD, it would have been a plastic cover. And here is a better look of the metal clip that it's holding the 9V battery. I've seen this used on the LTD Snakebite. Speaking of, I've learned this cool trick from the owner of the LTD Snakebite, Borislav. Write down the date of changing the battery on the battery itself. This way you can always keep track of it and exchange it every year or so. Here is the cover for the electronics, and this one still has the original sticker saying ESP, inspected in the USA. So those guitars were made in Korea and then inspected in the USA before shipping to customers. Meaning that the quality control was also probably conducted in the USA, making this guitar even better. Shielding on the back side of the cover. Now let's do a little comparison. The LTD features this step down set neck construction, a tiny step, where the ESP has this set through neck construction. Check out the gorgeous back of this mammoth baritone neck. It features the same green flame graphics as the body. It also features this comfortable volute near the headstock, same as with the ESP baritone, and I always prefer that. Above the volute you have the serial number G as in Grynch 79. There are 300 of those. The highest number that I've seen documented in photos is G079. If you've seen or have a higher number, please contact me. I would love to see number 300 for example. The back of the headstock features the Spurzel locking tuners and the same green flame graphic as the front, uninterrupted by a logo or a serial number. That's why the number is down here. I'm gonna set this Grynch in drop C for frantic and Saint Anger with 1256 not even slinky Ernie ball. The original strap button is in place, but I suspect that someone attempted replacing it at some point and cracked the upper horn. I'm gonna put shallers, so I have to be extra careful here. There is one in the back as well, original, and here is the output jack with black oval metal plate. And sure enough, removing the original strap button reveals a botched repair job, so again I have to be extra careful when installing the shaller. I've used the same original screw to secure the shaller button in place. Here it is with the strap, solid, no rattle, and here is what the strap buttons look like without the strap attached to them. They should be fine. One more important thing that you should consider is that the Grynch came without a case, and look at this standard case for the ESP Viper. It's shorter than the ESP Baritone case. This is the case from the ESP Baritone. Look at the way that the Grynch fits in it. Perfectly. But if I remove the standard Viper and try to fit the Baritone Grynch or the ESP Baritone in the standard case, well, nope. So if you're buying a case for the Grynch, make sure you get the proper case that comes from a Baritone ESP or LTD. Now let's weigh this green monster. 3756 grams or 8.28 pounds. Now let's check out the ESP just for comparison. Not a huge difference overall. It is time to share my thoughts about this green monstrosity. Is it an ESP with an LTD logo? No, it's not. Is it one of the best LTD guitars ever made? Definitely. This thing is really high quality. It feels expensive and substantial, it plays great, has a good hardware, has the good pickups. If you like baritone guitars, if you like the Viper shape, if you are a fan of James Hetfield, you should definitely get one. But here's the tricky part. They were made back in 2003 and only 300 of them ever made. And not a lot of people are willing to part with theirs. I've been looking for a Grynch in a good condition for almost 5 years now, and I finally got to document one, and I'm really happy with it. Why did it take 5 years for me to get one? Well, you see they're rare, but they pop in on reverb occasionally. The price though is always unreasonable. My patience paid off and I found a good one. I suggest you do the same, wait for the proper one and get it, because this guitar is simply amazing. Thank you guys for watching, like and subscribe.